Hello and welcome to another garden update video. Today we're going to be potting up my chili plants finally. This is probably the longest that I've waited to pot them up from such small pots, and it's also probably the longest that I've waited until getting them outdoors into a greenhouse or polytunnel. It is past the middle of April now and the weather has been unusually cold. We've had a lot of hard frosts in the last few weeks, and even this morning it was -2 Celsius. Hopefully that is behind us now and we're going to start getting some warmer temperatures and the chili plants will survive. So we need to get into the shed that's behind me over there, grab all the baby chili plants, which are going to be heavily root bound, and we're going to mix some soil, pot them up and get them inside the greenhouse. I've been coming in here every couple of nights and making sure they're properly watered. It's a little bit dark in there at the moment because the lights are off. I only put them on at night. It kind of served a dual purpose, obviously for the lights, but also to give it a bit of warmth. It just made sense rather than having it lit up during the day when it is going to be a little bit warmer. I did have some little heaters at the back there, and there's another little black one over there, and that was just set on a frost setting just in case it got a bit too low for them. But they mostly look all right. We're going to get them out of here now and take them outdoors and take a bit of a closer look at them. The plants are looking pretty healthy given that they should have been potted up quite a while ago. These pots are way too small for the size of these plants and for the age of these plants. We can see a lot of roots coming out the bottom, and we'll notice quite a lot of root-bound plants when I start potting them up. But while I was bringing them out here, I did notice a few little surprises, like at the back here. This here is a red cherry, I believe, and we have a pretty large pepper on that plant. We have a few others with peppers. Another one that's a real surprise is a capsicum chenennes. So we have a Maruga chocolate, I believe it's this plant here, and check out that, we have a pepper on this. Beautiful plant though, lovely growth, and that is going to explode with growth once it's got a bigger pot to grow in. A couple others to point out. There was this one over here. This is lovely, love the look of this. This is one of my Hainan yellow lanterns, another capsicum chenennes, and again, once that is in a proper pot, it's just going to grow big and beautiful. One last one, probably my favorite plant that I've planted so far, and purely because of what it looks like at this point, and it's this guy over here. Look at that. That is just stunning. This thing just wants to grow big and bushy. This is from Kangstar. This is a KS Lemon Starburst, and really looking forward to seeing how that develops through the season. But look at that beautiful, dense growth. Absolutely lovely. So I got to get cracking with some soil mixing, and another thing is I'm actually roasting in here. This greenhouse is so hot right now because it is a little bit cold outside still. It's about 4 or 5 degrees outside, but inside here I'd say about 30-40 degrees Celsius. The problem is I haven't yet installed the autovents. So these things over here, these go onto the windows, and we can see up there, these windows are all locked at the moment. I need to get them installed, and that will allow them to open when this gets too warm in here. In my last video, I asked you guys what you thought that was for. A few of you got it. It's actually to mix my compost. So I've showed you my compost mix that I use. I mix in some vermiculite, perlite, and a few other amendments as well into my compost. It can be a bit of work when you're doing, 50, 60 plants. When you're doing 180, 200, 250 plants, it really is a ton of work. So I'm going to test it out today with a smaller mix. Obviously, it's not my full mix that I'm going to be doing a bit later on when I pot up to the final pots. But we're going to test it out today inside this little bucket. I'm going to be using this. This is basically a cement mixer or plaster mixer, and that's actually a plasterer's bucket. And I'm going to see how this works out. I did consider actually getting a cement mixer, the proper big drum cement mixers, but it's just way too bulky. This at least can pack down quite small, and yeah, I can put it away in the shed when I'm not using it, which is most of the year. So I'm going to give this a try. Hopefully it works out, and also hopefully it gives me a much better mix. When I'm mixing it with just a spade and a bucket or in the wheelbarrow, I don't really get it mixed up as nicely as I should, especially when I'm doing my last 2 or 3 loads, because you get a bit lazy, a bit tired. Hopefully this makes easy work of it. So let's give it a go, see how it works out. Well, it's getting through it a little bit too quickly. I think we need to turn that down a bit. Well, that's much better mix than I could have done with a spade. That looks pretty good to me. Happy with that. So of course, later on in the season, when I pot up to my final pot size, this is pretty much the size of it. That's pretty big. It's about, I think this is a 10 litre, or actually it's 12 litre. This is about as big as I go typically. I have a few plans to maybe go a little bit bigger when I have the bigger greenhouse in, but this is about as big as I go in this one here. So typically it's this 12 litre or 10 litre even. And right now I'm going to be potting up to a 1 litre. So it's one of these. I have about 180, 190 plants, I think, at the moment. I'm not 100% sure right now. And I have a few more inside, actually, I need to not forget. But yeah, that's 180 litres of compost that I'm going to need. Well, a little bit less, because obviously there's some compost still in the plants that we're potting up. So let me get cracking. I'm going to get these all filled up with our lovely mixed compost over there, and I'll be right back with you. As always, these things take a lot longer than you expect them to. This has been about 5 hours worth of work to get these done, but thankfully it is done. It's starting to get a bit chillier out here. Well, it's been chilly all day out here. In there, it's been sweltering, but the sun's gone behind the clouds behind me over there, and we probably have another 3 or 4 hours of daylight. So I'm hoping that the clouds disappear for a little bit longer so that we can get some sunshine in here, warm up these pots, because what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be watering them. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to use the tap water. My bins over there, or my water butts, the IBCs, I haven't collected any rainwater yet because it hasn't rained since I installed them. So yeah, it will just be tap water, which is not really too much of a problem. We'll be okay. But I'm hoping that it's going to warm up before the sun goes down, because at night time, cold water in there, those roots are not going to be very happy. So that's all I've got left to do. I have to get in there and water these plants, give them a good soaking. You might notice at the end there are some plants that have been potted up into their final pots. So those are 10 litre pots. Those were the most root-bound plants. I decided to put them into larger pots, also because I ran out of the 1 litre pots. Need to get some more of those for next season. And they'll be okay. They're obviously very keen to grow. They were very root-bound. A lot of them already have little peppers on them. So we'll see how they fare compared to the ones that I'm going to be potting up again. And I'll make a note of that, so I will give you a bit of a comparison later on in the season. I decided to wait till morning to actually fit these auto vents. So this is going to go up here. And that's because these things here are basically wax-filled cylinders. So it's an hydraulic kind of system. It uses wax in there, and that wax heats up and it expands this, which is what automatically opens up these vents. Now, when you're fitting these, if these are warm, which they would have been yesterday, they would be expanded and you wouldn't be able to push this rod down. Now it's actually freezing cold because it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can just push it all the way down, nice and easy. So best time to fit it is either in the morning, or if you've stuck this inside a fridge for a little while. So let's get this fitted. And there you go. All I need to do now is actually adjust this. So when I come back in here a bit later today, when I check the temperatures in here, I will adjust this so that this is fully open at about 20 degrees Celsius. And if I remember correctly from the last ones I used, I believe it is about a centimeter off here, but we'll check later anyway. I need to fit another one on the other side of this window because this is a double window and you need two of these to support it. So I'm going to get the rest done and we'll have automatically opening windows so my plants don't fry. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something, and thanks for joining me. Until the next time, stay safe and stay spicy.